Hi, I'm Triumph, and welcome to our second Skelly News, where we're going to do two parts, talking about a couple of interesting videos sourced by my girlfriend, and then afterwards we're going to go into a lot of crazy and bad things that Trump has done. It's not been great, but that's okay, because you got me here to explain what's happening and what we can do about it as we go through it. We're going to start with, I believe, let's go right here. Instagram, there we go. We are starting with, oh, here we go. Farm, a federal program that provides free and reduced price meals to eligible students. Seems like a pretty important and good thing. 57% of students in the Bell County are farm eligible. Let's look at it.
Is funded
the entire room.
Oh wait, this is
a third
crazy
of
loud.
all of Bell County, Kentucky school district funding in 2021 came from federal sources. So this district is listening as incoming President Donald Trump pledges this.
One other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states.
What exactly that means for a state like Kentucky is unclear. Trump won this state. Bell County, 84% voted for Trump, yet it deeply relies on federal funding. And that's not unusual. A CNN analysis found the 15 states that most rely on federal funding for its public schools in 2022 all voted for Trump.
Real quick, we'll go right back into it. But again, that's been a very difficult thing for me as someone who's always lived in blue states and always will live in blue states as well. Like voting for Democratic leadership benefits red states in many ways more than it benefits blue states, like economically at least. Like living in blue states, like we're high density cities, which are most of the areas that like New York, California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, like those areas with large cities that are major financial districts, we'll just say, financial contributors. Those are usually blue states, and they make enough money to take care of themselves in other ways, or in other ways that the taxes that are collected, they put more into the tax system than they take out of the tax system. That's not the case for, I don't think, any red state, if I'm not mistaken. But like they're all negatives on the tax system, where many blue states are positive on the tax system. Again, but clearly we need it, So realistically, if you need budget cuts to balance the deficit, the red states have to suffer.
I voted for President Trump.
I mean, you're an educator. You didn't vote for Trump eliminating federal funds.
No, I did not vote for that.
She did vote for that because Trump has always been talking about cutting the Department of Education and all funding that goes to it. So yes, she did. She just wasn't paying attention.
I voted for President Trump to make America first again and to improve our lives.
Do you believe that he would cut funding for this county?
I want to say in my heart, absolutely not. I do not think that's what the
say
voters
in my
want.
heart.
If we have federal cuts, then that's
say in
going to
my
mean
heart.
bigger classroom sizes. I would lose teachers, first and foremost. It's devastating for this school.
Almost 80% of our students are.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the end of that video. But yeah, she is, like many other teachers, incredibly misinformed, but in a sense that like she just didn't listen to Trump. Because like this has been what Trump's been about his first presidency. He talked about it during his presidency. He talked more about transgender immigrants getting sex changes in jail more than this, certainly. But like this has never been a hidden part of the Trump presidency. Like it's always been the case that they wanted to cut funding, and they think public schools are where DEI indoctrination happens, so they want to get rid of public schools entirely. In public education entirely, right? That's the long-term goal, like having charter and private schools be the goal that, but like for the most part, they think that's unnecessary funding. But again, it's not like everybody on the left was telling you this the whole time, but that's just life. What are we looking at next? We have, this is, well, I'm saying, it's, it's bad. Skelly News is going to be mostly bad, but I have positive things, one positive thing at the end of this segment to like make up for it. So don't, at no point go into it expecting the first 10 minutes of Skelly News to be fun or happy. I'll say funny things, but it won't be a good time. But this part, we'll just get into it right here. Let's reload this just so it can be fresh.
Probably one telling me that Yvonne Missy Woods, she's the...
Let's just say, what's the name of Yvonne Woods? This is a person that had spent, they'll go into it, but they did data manipulation in a way that negatively affected about 10,000 cases.
Grace, forensic scientist at CBI, was turning herself in.
She was at the heart of a scandal that has absolutely rocked Colorado, the judicial system. There was a 102 count indictment, felony indictment against Yvonne Woods. She goes by Missy, everyone knows her as Missy Woods. She was considered the go-to expert in the state of Colorado in criminal cases. I think that CBI has said that she's worked on more than 10,000 cases. Almost 10% of them they found irregularities or anomalies. She had been manipulating data, deleting data, skipping steps, covering her tracks. Because the lab at CBI has been so embroiled in a review of all of her cases, there's a massive backlog on rape kits.
I got a call about...
Their tone almost downplays how significant of a thing this is. Like, something that feels as simple as data can be really overlooked, because people who are involved in data analysis and data science and researchers or experts in any capacity, their job is to look at information and give it to you in a way that you can understand. And a lot of times you have to do calculations with that data. A lot of times you have to get rid of outliers. There's a lot of cleaning up that has to be done, or modifying that has to be done to make a story with data. And that sounds probably really boring to everyone watching this, besides people who are interested in doing data related stuff like me and my girlfriend anyway. But the most simple version of this is you can't trust the evidence that was used to convict people. Like, that's at the end of the day. And this one person was used frequently to basically get convictions, or potentially not get convictions in cases that that basically we just don't know. Maybe these people all did deserve whatever they got, but potentially thousands of cases absolutely ruined because it's the one same person they would use. I do want to read 2 of the comments here. It's an interesting case that I don't quite understand yet with regards to the charges. If she cleaned up the sequencing data where you get raw data for DNA analysis, that's typical and it's subjective based on the quality of the sequence reads. However, if she's manipulating data in efforts to boost convictions, that is definitely concerning and is similar to the MA State drug crime lab case from years ago. This person makes for one, generally, like, my usual assumption, like, the investigation goes to the fact that she's, like, manipulating data in an effort to boost convictions is generally the idea. But it's also, like, if data is being changed in an irregular fashion, that's kind of enough of a reason. Like, it doesn't actually matter if her goal was or was not to boost convictions. If there is inaccurate or irregular data that people believed was not inaccurate, or was at least that would have a high confidence level, that can result in result in people going to jail they don't deserve to, or getting worse or less severe sentences than they actually deserved. I mean, like, at a point, it's someone coming from someone analyzing data, not understanding, like, hey, it's more significant, like, hey, yet sometimes things are subjective. And yes, there is a lot of subjective aspects to data analysis, which seems like a pretty solid field, but any analysis has some subjectivity. The next one is, now every single case she touched will be back in court, and guilty people will end up walking free because she just couldn't follow protocol and have integrity. Wonder if there are innocent people because of her actions. Now, they did mention, I wonder if there are innocent people in jail because of their actions. This isn't going to be a data critique. This is going to be a person critique. Just really weird for your first concern to be guilty people walking free and not innocent people being in jail. Like, for most crimes, because again, most crimes are not homicide, by the way, in case people weren't aware of that. Homicide is not the most common crime. For most crimes, like, if it's some sort of robbery, some sort of, like, tax violation, people, like, failing to, like, park tickets, warrants, DUIs, and whatnot. For the most part, these aren't crimes that are, like, a violent criminal is on the loose. This is someone who fails to abide by certain laws that it's bad for society, but not hurting people. It's worse for a free person to be in the horrible American jail system than with someone who's guilty. Like, if they were, like, they failed to make payments and they were driving a suspended license and then they missed court dates for some other reasons. That person can be in jail, and some data can be messed up with that. Like, again, we should be more concerned with innocent people being in jail than guilty people being free, especially if we're not talking about murderers and rapists. Okay, this one's about ICE. clearly I'm not going to talk about news and not mention anything related to ICE raids. It's kind of the biggest thing going on right now in U.S. politics, but we'll let her talk about it.
ICE raids have essentially emptied.
By the way, girlfriend just said, I don't know if you guys can hear, this is an immigration lawyer, so she should be reasonably trustworthy. I tend to believe a lawyer has at least some understanding.
California farm fields threatening U.S. food prices. It's almost as if we thought this would happen. Because of the ice raids in Kern County, citrus farm owners are reporting that nearly 75% of their workforce are not showing up. The U.S. Department of Labor reported that 42% of the agricultural field is undocumented, and nearly a quarter of our nation's food comes from Central California. This farm labor shortage, in combination with the tariffs that Trump threatened on Mexican and Canadian imports, will only skyrocket the prices of our groceries. This would be called America's finding out stage. Breaking all of these ice raids.
Okay, so, I mean, pretty obvious. Actually, me and Brad, we talked about this a little bit, actually, on one of our calls. Pretty obvious. You if you didn't know that much of our farming or agricultural and manufacturing, as well as many other jobs, but our agriculture and manufacturing is largely done by undocumented immigrants. Or for all you conservatives who are potentially watching, the illegal immigrants. I don't care which fucking term you use. That's what she said. Illegal, whatever. Immigrants in general are more likely to be doing agricultural and farming work here. So when you just get rid of all of them, for whatever reason, farms don't have employees anymore. I'm a city boy. I'm out. I've been in New England. I'm not working on a farm, big bro. I'm simply never doing it. So if someone's saying taking their jobs, they weren't taking I'm trying to learn to code, bro. I'm not going to be on the farm. That's not happening with me. If all you Southern people who are, there's not all Southerns, all you Republicans and largely Southern people, let's be honest, but who were saying, hey, they're taking our jobs, go get them, bro. They opened up. You don't want to live in these blue cities with people like me anyway. Go get the jobs back. It's just again, like I always talk on an economic level. It was bad. Having Trump in office was bad because these decisions are going to hurt your grocery prices. Also, immigrants by and large commit less crimes, violent and non-violent, than natural-born citizens. That's undocumented and documented immigrants both commit. In fact, I'd wager, I'd have to look this up, but we'll look it up later, that documented immigrants are going to commit even less crimes than documented immigrants because they're more likely to get caught and be deported, because getting deported is likely going to happen because you're arrested for something, like every crime. Like you get caught for some minor crime and then you get caught for the bigger stuff. There's going to be people who are crazy and they commit crimes anyway. It's going to happen. But for the most part, these people are incentivized. Incentives should matter to you if you're a conservative, because economics should matter to you, right? You're incentivized to commit crime less frequently because you're going to be penalized more than an American citizen would. Next bit, we've got the Harvard layoffs. I haven't looked anything into this, but I've heard some concerning things. I imagine it's all related to DEI stuff. Maybe I'll be surprised, but I've seldom am.
Wayne Tucker's job to find people enslaved on Harvard's campus by Harvard leaders, faculty, and staff, and to trace their descendants. That is, until yesterday.
Yesterday, we were just relieved of all of our duties around 11:30 a.m.
Tucker and his colleagues at the Harvard Slavery Remembrance Program, a university initiative tasked with identifying direct descendants of those enslaved by Harvard leadership, were abruptly laid off.
It's disgusting, to treat your colleagues like that.
Tucker says the program worked with passion because of how many descendants they'd found.
That mush, when you find that nugget, you're like, oh my God.
He's legitimately passionate about this, yeah.
That 900 number is a big number.
Sean Wynn is the president of Harvard Black Law Students.
I think for a lot of people, we saw the 9-figure commitment to a legacy of slavery initiative as a positive sign and a step in the right direction. And I think I, speak for a lot of people on this campus when I say that this most recent news feels like it is a step in the wrong direction.
It was Wayne Tucker's job.
You shouldn't just fire people you have a disagreement with, especially when it's a subject that's sensitive. I'd like something like this to be like, you talk to students and see what their opinion on the direction is. Like if parts of the staff are having a disagreement, I just like I mean, because that's what I mean on my stream. If I can't come to a decision, I ask my community, what should we do? Like in general concepts, what research, what's the take, right? Which is just very disappointing. I mean, Harvard's. I might apply for some jobs there, so let me not be too. Harvard, if you're watching, great school and smart move actually. Get rid of those traitors. This is about Alabama basically using slave labor.
Basically, they are.
Well, fine. It's technically, basically, you could argue. There's an argument if you're getting paid at all in any capacity, then you're not a because as bad as it is here, I can't even just say 400 years ago or 400 years ago, 200 years ago. But you know, there's still the same type of cattle. There's the same type of slavery that we've had in other areas.
Situation of where they getting rich off of.
The Alabama Department of Corrections farms out incarcerated people to work at hundreds of private companies and government agencies across the state.
McDonald's, Burger King, Golden Corral, Wendy's. They got a Wendy's contract right now. State Trooper's office.
They'll send everybody everywhere.
They'll send you everywhere. Yes, the parole office.
And even though ADOC trusts these incarcerated people to leave prison every day and work alongside the general public, many of them are still denied the chance at real freedom.
I work for y'all, but when I come up from parole, you deny me. Why would you deny me? Because I got free, because you're getting free service. They want me to come back in tomorrow. They want me to, because they money keep flowing.
They have a full 10-minute video that goes into more detail into the payments too, but the thing is, like, these employees, these slave laborers are more indentured servitude are paid usually like less than $5, maybe like less than $3 an hour most of the time.
That's generous.
Yeah, it's usually around Alabama. It could also be a unique case, but usually there's like around $3 to $5 an hour. Even if it's more, and that ends up, a lot of that just goes straight to different administrative, like just imaginary fees that the the person just comes up with. So they could work, and they're not like working regular. They're not like, hey, come and get 6 hours in. Like, allow them open to close, open to close, crazy long shifts, and. You know, talking about coming home with like $600 from a regular job, they won't come home at all because they're in prison for one. Like, largely, these aren't like murderers, by the way. Because again, there's a lot of sentiment online. You'll see, they're criminals anyway. But again, if you lived in an upper middle class white neighborhood, where they only when you guys do like the same crimes, like speeding, DUIs or whatnot. When a white kid gets them and they get off free, a black person gets them, now they have to do slave labor, right? Like, you become a slave, and that's best case scenario, by the way. Like, these are the good prisoners who get this. This isn't like, well, you know, because they suck here, you have to do slave labor now. No one should be doing slave labor ever. This is a thing where, like, it's a problem with, like, empathy, where it's like a bad thing happens to someone, and because you don't want to feel bad, you decide, like, well, they probably deserve it, which is big in, you know, right-leaning circles. And a lot of Baptist churches, a lot of evangelical churches was like, well, I shouldn't feel bad, and I don't want to, so I don't feel bad. That's basically it. It's absolutely crazy. I know Hassan did an interview with them, and there's some persons that, like, you know, weirdly enough, there's a two-part thing. Like, it's still better to be that than a normal prisoner, because you get to interact with human beings while you're in jail. I mean, you're interacting with human beings in jail, but you get to interact with non-prison locked human beings, right? Like, it sucks to only talk to people on the inside. It doesn't help you understand what society is like. I mean, I've talked to a few people that have been to jail, and the longer they're there, the harder it is to leave. I got a friends only there for a little bit, and like, it, you know, cleaned up the act a little bit, right? But the more you go back, the more it solidifies. But if you get a regular job, your likelihood to recommit and reoffend significantly lower. Still more likely to commit than someone who's never been arrested or convicted or whatnot. But, like, again, we want to decrease crime rates. We're not doing like, well, why aren't you perfect? Again, it's shit feels like it should be, you know, obvious. And now we get our happy story. You guys toughed it out for about 30 minutes. So now at the end of this section of the video, I think I'll do 2 parts video. So we get to talk about gay sheep, guys. Gay sheep. Sometimes we get to be positive Skelly News. I'm gonna make a point to find one positive thing to talk. It may not always be news, but some positive thing we'll end every video with, because we live in a shit time in a shit country. Some of my viewers aren't from the US, but you'll be affected by stuff that happens here too. All right, let's reload this. Let's get some gay sheep.
12 sheep is gay. And because they don't do their job, they're often uninvolved. In a usual sheep herd, there are 50 female sheep for every 1 male sheep, which is why gay sheep are a bigger problem than lesbian sheep. I got to visit Rainbow Wool, a project that saves gay sheep and turns their wool into cool products. And all profits go to an organization that protect LGBTQAI+ rights. For a better future for everyone, no matter who they love, sheep or human.
See, that's a cute story. I would just love to be out, like someone's like, nigga, you see this shit, this gay sheep wool. What you mean this ain't fresh? That's the one thing when I do debates with people, I'm pretty sure Brad's probably already heard me say this. When someone talks about unnaturalness and like, you know, being gay or whatnot. Again, like debating gay stuff is going to be less common because most people aren't that bad, but it's going to happen. And there's going to be someone who calls it unnatural. And the default thing is like actually every animal in the animal kingdom almost every one of them, if I'm not mistaken, has had some recorded case of, well, not say every animal, but many animals have had some recourse of this homosexuality. I don't think it even varies much, whether between lesbian or gay, but like animals perform sex for pleasure. Like it's not just a human thing, and it doesn't need to be straight because they don't know what that means. I swear, did you tell me that a story? There was some gay animal that like would only mate with those. I'm just based like that. Talking about just talking about between gay people. It's crazy because there's just no gay people in the Skelly community, so this is uncomfortable territory for me. Never met a gay person, never will. But that's been the I need to come up with a name for the shorts section. Maybe this is just the Skelly Shorts part.